For years, the brain remained a locked box. Doctors, philosophers, and therapists could only make educated guesses about the processes taking place inside. Today, new technology is allowing us to see and explore this amazing organ that controls breathing, movement, solving math problems, and even falling in love. If you were to draw a brain, you would probably draw the outer surface or cerebral cortex. It is in this region of the brain that the cerebrum handles reason, planning, memory, and sensory integration. The brain is divided down the middle, giving us the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, one to control each side of the body. Each hemisphere contains 4 lobes. Each is responsible for specific jobs. Voluntary muscle movements and executive thinking, which includes planning, goal setting, and judgment, takes place in the area located in the front of the brain called the frontal lobes. When you make a decision, you are using your frontal lobes. Processing visual information, understanding what you are looking at, and perceiving color takes place in the area located in the back of the brain, known as the occipital lobes. When you see something that appeals to you visually, you are using your occipital lobes. Understanding what we are hearing, communicating with language, and memory is located just above the ears in the temporal lobes. When you sing words you have memorized, you are using your temporal lobes. Processing sensory information like temperature, taste, touch, and smell takes place in the middle of the cortex, in the parietal lobes. When you smell and taste a hot apple pie, you are using your parietal lobes. Below the brain surface or cortex, you will find several structures with long names like hypothalamus, thalamus, amygdala, and hippocampus. Together, they create the limbic system. Emotions like anger and happiness, drives like hunger and dominance, and instincts, along with the regulation of other body processes, take place in the limbic system. As you may guess, research has shown that the limbic system plays a part in almost all mental health conditions. Below the lobes is the brainstem, which connects the brain to the spinal cord. Body processes that you don't even think about, like breathing, swallowing, heart rate, and digestion, are controlled by the brainstem, which is sometimes called the old brain. As you move back up through the brain to the frontal cortex, thinking becomes more complicated and deliberate, with functions like attention, decision-making, problem-solving, and abstract thinking. This area is sometimes called the new brain. It is the new brain that allows us to understand how the brain functions. A lot of focus has been on chemical changes within the brain. You may recall hearing or learning something about neurotransmitters, the chemicals that carry a message from one brain cell to another. The type and amount of neurotransmitters present in the synapse between the neurons directly impacts the way messages are sent and received. The way the messages are sent and received influences how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. For example, when someone is experiencing symptoms of depression, serotonin neurotransmitters are likely involved. And when someone is experiencing symptoms of psychosis, dopamine neurotransmitters likely aren't doing their job properly. Now let's look at some of the actual physical changes in the brain that can be associated with mental health conditions. Technology used to scan activity in the brain has shown that certain areas physically look different in some people when mental health conditions are present. Physical changes in the limbic system, the area deep inside the brain that controls our emotions and drives, have been documented in almost every major mental health condition. There can be abnormally higher blood flow and glucose metabolism in the amygdala, the center for emotionally charged memories, in some people with depressive disorder or bipolar disorder. This results in exaggerated emotions and moodiness. In anxiety disorders and obsessive-compulsive disorder, brain scans have shown the amygdala, which is also the brain's fear center, can be overactivated, and the prefrontal cortex's control over the amygdala weakened. Scans indicate that people with schizophrenia produce abnormal brainwaves, particularly in the temporolimbic region, interfering with the ability to process information because the brain can't tone down external sounds or screen out unwanted noise. You may have heard this referred to as impaired gating. Here's an interesting fact. Part of the cause of impaired gating appears to be a deficiency of nicotine receptors in the hippocampus. Did you even know we had nicotine receptors in our brains? Nicotine from cigarettes can temporarily override this defect, providing a short break from sensory overload. Studies show that the ability to screen out background noise improves right after smoking, which explains why people with schizophrenia have 3 times the smoking rate of the general population. These are just a few examples of the biology of mental health conditions.